Assalaamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Welcome here at CryptoCurrencies, where we educate and disseminate information about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies from a Muslim perspective. I've been away for a very long time from YouTube. I haven't really made videos about Bitcoin for a while. And yesterday I saw something. I felt now's that time, I think, to start making effort to educate more about Bitcoin. I've already made over 200 or about 200 videos already on Bitcoin primarily. And I think I've given enough time for people to observe, learn, and so on and so forth. And right now, what I would like to do is directly address some of the criticisms from individuals towards Bitcoin. And today, so I think yesterday someone asked Sheikh Assim Hakim and about Bitcoin, and he still held some positions. So I thought to myself, I've addressed the objections in individual videos, but I never mentioned any names. But I think now is about time to give direct replies. This is not meant to be a criticism of the Sheikh's knowledge. I'm sure the Sheikh is very well versed in Islamic Sharia. But I just feel that in this particular topic of Bitcoin, some more information he needs to have more information. You could say, I just feel that in this topic of Bitcoin, certain things, there are some misunderstandings that inshallah, hopefully this video would clarify to himself and to others. So without any delay, let's get started. So I'm gonna it's a 9-minute video. My video obviously be a lot longer than his one. So I'll hopefully address each point one by one in this long video. I will eventually cut this into smaller chunks so that if anyone wishes to get to a certain point in a smaller video, then they can have a separate video. But for now, this is a longer video. I wrote down about, I think Sheikh has technically 26 objections or 26 points to refer to or to address. And if you were to skip to exactly that point in the audio, look at the description below. Hopefully I'll put the points where you can just quickly skip to the necessary objection. So without any delay, let's get straight to it.
Brother LeBron says, I'd like to know the details how Bitcoin tends to be haram according to a point of view, despite the fact that cryptocurrency might probably be accepted as a legal tender and a medium of exchange.
So already the question is a bit convoluted. And reason being is because Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a whole has been put together in one bucket. If anyone knows anything about this space, you would know that each individual coin is very different. It's almost like elements of the periodic table. I mean, although there are many different metals, but each metal has its own properties. So to ask them about, or to title a video about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and then spend the whole video talking about Bitcoin and then object to Bitcoin based on sometimes maybe some things are unique to one currency other than others, it's unfair. But we'll go ahead anyway and try to address this. My objection or my replies would primarily or only be in reference to Bitcoin. I am not here to defend any other coin. I'm only here to address and discuss Bitcoin.
The issue of Bitcoin is a recent one, which means that it is not found or discussed by scholars in the past.
So what he's referring to here is what's called a nazila. In the Sharia, a nazila is a new situation that has, like you mentioned, not been discussed before. And in these nawazil, or in these, it's just plural of nazila, and these things, what he's referring to is that you need to have a specific discussion, a new discussion about that thing, and you can't necessarily just use older fatwa or older verdicts to apply to something necessarily new. And this is true. He continues on by saying,
and unfortunately, with such new events evolving, some of them are, to some, crystal clear, and some, to others, may require the collaboration of scholars, economists, and people involved in such issues to deliberate and to come up with a conclusion.
Yeah, so exactly that. As with all nawazil, those who discuss the matter from the Sharia perspective need to be those who are clear on the matter and have full understanding of the matter. Not just the matter itself, but you could even be surrounding issues. It's like you mentioned the issue of economists. So the reason why I mentioned economy is because they are technically specialists in affairs of transactions, the economy basically, which includes money and whatnot. So they would have certain information, certain knowledge that would help them come to the correct conclusion, which is fair enough.
Basically speaking, Bitcoin is something that is recent and new. And there are a lot of serious concerns when it comes to dealing with it.
Okay, so before we move on to the next point, so the issue of being a new phenomena is true. The issue that you need to have people who are knowledgeable in the affairs to discuss it, that's also very true. So the only thing I'll say is that when a person wants to know the ruling of Bitcoin, they need to consult someone with that knowledge, both knowledge of the Sharia and the knowledge of, I guess you could say, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and also very importantly, money, because Bitcoin is money. If any one of those things is lacking, then no doubt the fatwa or the verdict will be lacking. And that's just a given thing. Unfortunately, many Muslims seem to think that because someone is knowledgeable in the Sharia, they must automatically be knowledgeable in other things. And that's not necessarily the case. Many scholars who have even issued verdicts on Bitcoin quite clearly don't understand how Bitcoin works, and in some cases don't even understand how money works. And this is not to put anyone down. This is just a demonstration or just an explanation of reality. It's just because a person understands the Sharia, that doesn't give necessarily knowledge of everything else. And it's not an aib, it's not a deficiency. It's just something which is a statement of fact. So before one asks a person for a verdict, they must first have knowledge of the issue at hand. They must not have any bias in their decision making, and there must not be any external, I'll say extreme external pressures. It's very important. Knowledge of the affair, no bias against or for, and no extreme external influences that will influence their thought process. So if someone doesn't know what Bitcoin is, then whatever they say is going to be tainted. If they have a bias, i.e., they naturally incline towards the normality or that which is familiar, and generally have a distaste for the novel and the new, that's a bias. That's a human bias. Many people have it. Sometimes people don't like change. And extreme external influences. I said extreme because we all have influences, but if it's extreme, they'll definitely taint a person's views. So an example of extreme external influence would be, for example, if someone's livelihood is dependent upon the current system of fiat, and Bitcoin will threaten their livelihood, that's an external influence, and it can be very extreme to the level whereby it blinds a person to seeing something correctly. So these are generally some of the criteria which would help get a good understanding, a good possibility of getting a good possibility of getting the right answer, basically. So yeah, let's continue.
Whether it is from the origin, where it came from, whether from the aspect of sustainability and security. It is known that it was founded in 2007, 2008 by someone that is unknown. And they say,
Okay, so this is a classic objection. The ambiguity of Bitcoin. And when I say the ambiguity of Bitcoin, they're referring to the ambiguity of the issuer. The one who issued, or not the issuer, I should say, the one who initially coded Bitcoin, put pen to paper, came up with the white paper, coded the original program, launched the network. Who is this individual? How can we trust him? How do we know him? That's the original objection. But the problem with this objection is that it's not comparing apples and apples, it's comparing apples and oranges. Meaning that if I were to issue something like a token, like a piece of paper, like a certificate, and I was to say, yeah, I'm going to back this certificate with gold, and I have no idea who this person is, whether he's telling the truth or not, then fair enough. We want to know how reliable this person is, audit his gold supplies. No, there needs to be some kind of checks and balances so he's not ripping someone off. But the Bitcoin network doesn't function that way. And we will expand upon that a bit further. Let's continue what he says.
that his name is Satoshi Nakamoto. And this person later on, who was supposed to be Japanese, the person with that name denied having anything to do with it. Then
So what he's referring to here is an event which happened early on in the history of Bitcoin, where because Satoshi Nakamoto's name, his pen name online was Satoshi Nakamoto, it was speculated that there was another person with the same name, Satoshi Nakamoto, who lived in America. And people said, yeah, this is Satoshi. Now, anyone can name themselves whatever they want to call themselves on an online platform. It doesn't mean that he used his real name. It's a pseudonym. It was just like how someone might be called Abdullah123 Big Boy on his account. It doesn't mean his actual name is Abdullah or these numbers are his name or anything like that. So what he's referring to is the speculation of some of the early Bitcoiners as to try to find out who Satoshi Nakamoto was. And the guy who denied being him was basically some innocent guy whose name happened to be the same as Satoshi Nakamoto. And that's basically it. There's no controversy in that. It's just that people thought he was him. And he said, no, I'm not. And that was the end of it. What was interesting though, was that I think he lived close to Hal Finney. But that's not the discussion altogether.
another person came from Australia or Canada claiming to be the one who founded it.
What he's now referring to now is another person who was a fraud called, called Craig Wright, another person who claimed to be Satoshi Nakamoto. But the point is that there are many people who claim to be him. Not many people. There's only one person who claimed to be him. Others thought he might be the other Japanese guy who's called Satoshi Nakamoto. Somehow speculated that it could be Elon Musk. Someone speculated it could be Hal Finney. The point is, he's an enigma. Who he actually was is unknown. But as we will discuss, is that even important? We'll see.
But generally speaking, no one knows where originally it came from.
Yeah, so again, it's not entirely true. I mean, we know where it came from. It came from this individual. We know the technology behind it, because the technology that Satoshi Nakamoto came up with, or the ideas he came up with and the technology behind it that implemented Bitcoin, wasn't novel. So if you can imagine, Bitcoin is made up of many components. You can almost think of it like a car. Car has a spark plug, it has cylinders, it has wheels, it has an axle, it has all these different things. So imagine someone who wanted to design a brand new car and basically use parts from other cars. And he formed this new car from parts from other cars. He didn't make a brand new car. He just refashioned what already existed before. So things like proof of work and the hashing algorithm and all these kind of things, all these things existed way before Satoshi Nakamoto. What Satoshi Nakamoto did, however, was piece these things together in a manner which was very unique and novel, that allowed for the first time in human history to have scarcity and ownership in the digital realm. But again, we'll talk about that as we move on.
Not only that, when it started, I think it was like 0.1 cent of a dollar. So one Bitcoin was equal to 0.1 cent, something that is negligible.
So to conclude this topic about the ambiguity of the founder, who he was, it's not actually important. It's not actually important at all. Let me explain why. Number one, we need to be fair when assessing this topic. And when I say fair, I mean we can't have one rule for Bitcoin and another rule for everything else. So for example, who was the first person who issued paper money? It issued currency for paper, or who started using gold for money, or who was the first person who's even what is even the name of the first central banker? I mean, many things we don't know the names of, but it doesn't matter because we can see the system, we can analyze the system, we can explore the system, and we can check the system. Or there are many things, for example, who have unknown origins, like for example Euclid, a mathematician who you could say founded Euclidean geometry, or even Pythagoras. These are names which we've used to coin the founders, quote unquote, of mathematical ideas, and we have no idea who this person really is. And on top of that, I think people like Euclid, for example, those are names, but we don't actually know if that's actually was his name, who he actually was, or anything about him. But we can still look at what he said, look at what he put forward, and we can analyze it for ourselves and see whether or not we can use it. No one says, oh, well, because we don't know who Pythagoras' theorem was, or Pythagoras was, or because we don't know who Euclid was, that we don't know if there are any backdoors or hidden errors in his code. No, we can analyze and see its validity or not, and then we can accept it or not. And it actually doesn't matter who this individual or individuals are. So we can see here that ambiguity of Satoshi Nakamoto is irrelevant, considering that the Bitcoin code base is open. You can read every line of code, and you can even add to the code and so on and so forth, which we'll discuss a bit more in the future. So it's not really an objection. And we've already covered this in a previous video, so please check out. I'll put in the description below any particular videos that we've covered before, which deals with these particular objections. And you probably find if you look at our channel, we've covered every single thing he's mentioned here, probably 2 years ago. So we put links to each one in the description below. Let's continue.
Not only that, when it started, I think it was like 0.1 cent of a dollar. So one Bitcoin was equal to 0.1 cent, something that is negligible. In a couple of years, it jumped to $35. As of today, if I'm not mistaken, one Bitcoin that was 0.1 cent now is equivalent to $11,000 plus. This is ridiculous. What is this?
So this is another, I think this is probably the most commonly used objection against Bitcoin by Muslims and non-Muslims alike. And in all honesty, it's actually probably the most annoying. But let's explore this line of thinking. So Bitcoin's price was practically nothing, and then in a couple of months or years, it went up to a higher lot, and it came down, and it went up, and it went down. And this essentially is the objection for, I guess, the validity of Bitcoin. I'm not sure why it's an objection for it being halal, but point being, it's an objection for whether or not Bitcoin is a currency, or can be a currency, or is valid, or whatever they want to say. So I guess I can answer this in two parts. The first part would be the simple answer. And that will be by simply asking those who have this objection to answer me a simple question. What's that question? According to you, what should the price of Bitcoin be in order for it to be halal, and who decides that price? Simple question. So imagine we had the Khalifa and he decided to make Bitcoin. Imagine our Khalifa was Satoshi himself. and he issued Bitcoin. And we wanted to decide how much this thing is worth. Who decides that, and what is that price? That's the first question. You can reword it another way. If the Imam of the Muslims who owned the currency, how does he enforce this price that he decided to be? And does he even have the right to set a price? Now, the reason why this fails, or why this simple question reveals the fallacy of this argument against Bitcoin, is that there are only two answers to this question. There's no third one. Either one, it is for someone to decide what price Bitcoin is, whether it be one Bitcoin should be £1, £100, £1 million. If there is a person or a group of people, maybe it be the Khalifa or the Ministry of Finance or whatever it is, if they were to decide the price of Bitcoin, the next question would be then, okay, so why is that price a fair price, and why should anyone agree to that price, and how does one enforce that price? So you kind of answer the question with more problems than when you first started. When you first started, we just had Bitcoin, and the price was decided by the market. Now we've said, no, so-and-so should decide the price. So then the question is, why so-and-so? Why not me? Why not you? Who has actually the right to state the price for everybody else? See, the thing is, the price volatility of Bitcoin comes from, it's an emergent property. As with the price of everything. What's the price of eggs? What's the price of bread? What's the price of a car? What's the price of anything? These prices are determined by the market. The collective interactions of human beings that come to a point whereby we discover the price. Prices are not dictated. Prices are discovered. That's what price discovery means in the market. Now, there are some governments who do fix prices. But what happened to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu when the Sahaba asked for that to happen? They requested, O Messenger of Allah, Sa'ir lana, set the prices for us, because the prices of certain commodities, certain items have gone up. And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu refused to do so. And he even mentioned that what would he do Yawm al-Qiyamah if he were to set the price, and he has to deal with the oppression that would have occurred to someone else. As in, if he decides the price to be X, Y, Z, that will no doubt oppress somebody else. And he said that the prices are set by Allah. So basically what that teaches us is that there is no absolute price for something. Anyone who believes that there is an absolute price for anything does not understand the markets or business or trade. There is no absolute price. Even the concept of this is too expensive, this is too cheap. That's a relative description. It's too expensive for you, or it's too cheap for you, or maybe it's too expensive for what the collective market has decided, but it's a relative thing. So the price volatility of Bitcoin, to answer your question, the price volatility of Bitcoin is a product of the market discovering the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a currency. The more people use it, the less there is available to use. And based on supply and demand, the price needs to reflect that dynamic. So yes, it was at the very beginning a fraction of a cent, because hardly anyone knew of it or wanted it. So it was technically not worthless, but it was technically very cheap, basically. But as time went on and more people want to use it, discovered its virtue, discovered its properties, and now they want to take it, therefore the price gets bid up. That's literally what it is. Price goes up when more people want it than those who don't, and the price goes down when the opposite occurs. And that's with everything. Right now, we're dealing with the price of oil going through the roof. Why is that? Because there's now a issue to do with the supply of oil due to the Ukrainian war and so on and so forth. Same thing, the price of wheat and food is also going up. Again, as an effect of supply and demand. One of the largest exporters of the world was Ukraine. And now they're engaged in something else. So now the price of wheat and so on and so forth, which is important for bread, is now going to go up. These are dynamics that are outside of the control of any one individual. And it's even the case with Bitcoin. So if you want to know what the price of Bitcoin is, look at the markets and we see what the price is. That is discovered through market forces. That's it, man. Once you understand how prices are discovered, then you understand why the price of Bitcoin goes up. It went up very quickly initially because it was, like I said, it was a very new thing, and the price affected it a lot. And its volatility is decreasing over time, but that exactly happens all the time. So let's continue.
It is not something that is physical, you can touch. It's not a coin. It's not a banknote. It's not a deed. It's not a certificate. It is something that is virtual. It all is dependent on the peer-to-peer, the blockchain, and the logarithms that govern it, which is known to only a handful of people.
One last point about the issue of volatility of the currency. There's always a double standard in this topic as well, because what people don't fail to realize is that, people in Western countries, they fail to realize is that there are many countries out there who have a fiat currency that is more volatile than Bitcoin. So if volatility, price fluctuation, is something that doesn't make something a currency, then therefore the Turkish lira is not a currency. Therefore the Lebanese pound is not a currency. All these currencies that are more volatile, that move a lot more, and mainly in the downside, than Bitcoin, therefore they're not currencies. But no one denies that the Turkish lira is a currency, yet the Turkish lira has lost over 70% of its value in just this year alone. So why the double standards? One should always be fair and just when assessing Bitcoin and analyzing its properties. And as I mentioned before, what the properties one should before they should ask someone a fatwa. One of them is bias. One shouldn't have a unleaning or unfair bias towards something. Anyone who criticizes Bitcoin for the things that also exist in fiat, yet they find no objections inside fiat money, that demonstrates a bias. As in, you want fiat, you want to maintain the fiat system, therefore you overlook the failings of the fiat system. But when you see those same failings in Bitcoin, you raise those objections. This demonstrates that there's a bias.
What is this? This is not something that is physical, you can touch. It's not a coin. It's not a banknote. It's not a deed. It's not a certificate. It is something that is virtual. It all is dependent on the peer-to-peer, the blockchain, and the logarithms that govern it, which is known to only a handful of people.
Okay, this is another objection which is commonly used by Muslims. And I say Muslims, I don't find that many non-Muslims use it, but also non-Muslims raise this objection as well. And that is that Bitcoin is not physical. It's not like coin or a banknote or a certificate. Now, what's telling about that, what he said there, is that this only makes sense if one refers to gold coins. Because gold is a bearer asset, meaning the value of this coin is within the coin itself. No one told you how much gold is worth or how much this coin is worth. The value is carried or piggybanked within the actual coin itself. So if I took this coin and I melted it down and made a cube out of it, the value would actually be exactly the same because the value is contained within the coin. Whereas if I took the currencies we have today, a pound coin, 50 pence, 20 pence, and I melted those, if I took £100 worth of 20 pence and I melted this metal down and I made a block out of that, though this melted down 20 pence, the value of that won't be £100. These currencies are not bearer assets. This is a very important phrase, a bearer asset, meaning that something that carries the value in and of itself. These currencies, these banknotes, these certificates that he's referring to are actually promises. They are debt, is a promise to pay a value, promise to convey a certain value. They have no value in and of themselves. So the fact is comparing Bitcoin to these things and saying that these things are real and Bitcoin is not real is actually the opposite. Bitcoin is a bearer asset. The value is within Bitcoin itself. Meaning, if I have Bitcoin in my wallet, for example, in my phone wallet, whatnot, and I send that to you, you now physically have, and to maybe not say physically, I mean on your phone, or you now have in your possession the actual value of that Bitcoin. It's not a promise to pay that value. It is that value. Why do you say that? Because I can go to someone else and I can pay that money and that kind of stuff. The value is within that thing itself. But you may say, but it's just numbers, it's just digital stuff, it's not real. Well, actually, it costs that amount to make that coin. So if I want to actually get gold from a mountain, it costs me money to get gold and extract the gold from the mountain. And that value is almost equivalent to what it takes to extract it. I mean, there's a certain markup, but that's basically what it is. So you could say the value is attached to the extraction of that thing, similar to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a bearer asset. It actually carries the value in of itself. Whereas the fiat money, that is actually a promissory note. It's not actually contains that value in of itself. And this is one of the I guess the fallacies of the current system. When people say physical, it's not what people think it is. Fiat money isn't physical money. Yes, you may have a note, a £10 note, a £5 note, and yes, it may say the value of it is £10, but there is no physical difference between a £5 note and a £10 note. If I was to mush them up and make it to pulp, they're equal. They're actually not even worth £5 even. They're worth nothing or less than that. They're only a promissory note, a promise to have that conveyed at a certain value. The value is not in and of itself. And to make it worse, more than 98% of all the fiat money that exists has no physical form. It actually is digital. It's an entry in a database in a bank ledger. So a bank keeps record of how much money you have. And if you was to withdraw all the money that you claim you have on planet Earth, by the time 2 to 3% of the total balance the bank holds is withdrawn, no more money is left. So even this claim that fiat is physical is false. It's not the case. So again, we have more double standards. Why do we hold Bitcoin to a standard that we don't hold fiat to? That's an issue we have to deal with. So it's about being consistent, really. It's about being consistent. Likewise, there are many things in this world that have value that have no physical form. A poem has value. An idea has value. Even websites, www.mymenu.com. I can go now and pay money to have this name, to have the rights to that name. It doesn't exist. It's just a name. But I can pay for it, I can own it, and I can even sell it. Even Michael Saylor, and the famous investor, he bought hope.com. And many people have tried to buy this name, this URL, for millions of dollars because it's a valuable URL. People accept the value of it. And he just bought it, Hope. It's just a name. So there are many things that have value that don't have physical form. And the lack of physical form doesn't take away from Bitcoin's value. In fact, it's a feature, not a bug. If you could have something that actually holds real value but has no physical form, you remove from that thing the failings that comes with physicality. Meaning, because Bitcoin has value but has no physical form, that means I can send that money from Saudi Arabia to USA in a split second without any cost in sending it, or minimal cost in sending it. I can't do that with gold. I can't do it with anything physical. There's nothing on planet Earth physically that I can send at that speed minus light. And light, I don't know if light has value like that, but it doesn't want to. So Bitcoin actually solves a problem of physical money by removing the physicality and maintaining the money. So yeah, Bitcoin, it has the properties of physical money, meaning that it can be owned, it can be given, it can be stored, it can be retrieved, and it's the strongest property rights that we have, meaning that I can demonstrate that I own something. No one can take it from me by force. It's only something that can be given by will. I can confiscate your house. I can confiscate your bank balance. I can confiscate anything you own, but I cannot confiscate Bitcoin off of you unless you give it to me willfully. So Bitcoin actually, by not having physical form, is a feature, not a bug. Let's continue.
Who control it and who are anonymous and no one knows who they are.
Yeah, it's another fallacy. Who controls Bitcoin? No one knows who they are. That's not correct. I think the better question is, who controls fiat? And who are they? I'm sure if you ask anyone in any country who controls your currency, I'm sure they could not give a name. Realistically. Even the names you might know, are they the ones who control it? Or are they just the figureheads of those who control it? Like Joel Powell and so on and so forth. So that is actually a question that's valid for fiat, but it's invalid for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has nobody who controls it. That's the point of Bitcoin. There is nobody, there is no individual who controls Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an open source program that anyone on planet Earth can run the program and secure the network. Anyone can mine it, anyone can run a node, and anyone can contribute to the code. So there is no one person who owns it. There's not one person who controls it. Many people have tried, but they've realized very soon that you can't do that. And that's the point behind Bitcoin. It is the best form. It is money like gold. Just like no one controls gold, no one controls Bitcoin. And in fact, gold has more potential to be controlled than Bitcoin. How so? Because gold has a physical form, it's impractical to use on an everyday basis. That's why we came up with paper money. It made gold, it was, you could say, the layer 2 on top of gold, allowed the easier transaction and use of gold as money. And because gold was heavy and physical, it caused gold to be consolidated in vaults and safes of companies and banks. And because of that, it was easy to capture by the banks. Bitcoin has no physical form. Therefore, there's no reason or incentive for you to give your Bitcoin to a bank. Why would you? Now, don't get me wrong, many people leave their Bitcoins on exchanges. But that's by choice. There's no reason why they have to. They can easily withdraw the Bitcoin at zero cost, or maybe just the cost of withdrawal, which is a couple of pence or pounds. But there's no reason for that to happen. So it's very, very difficult to capture Bitcoin because there's no incentive to store your Bitcoin in some centralized location. So no one can control Bitcoin. That's a feature, not a bug. Also, it's important to recognize this objection for what it is. It is a question, not an objection. Many people make objections with questions. And the answer to that is very simple. Answer the question. Once you answer the question, then you'd find the answer. The lack of ability from your behalf or on your part to answer the question does not demonstrate there is no answer. So the Sheikh says, if no one knows who controls it, and I can just say, yes, actually, we do. We all control it. We are all Satoshi. That's it. Some people say. I'm Spartacus, as they say. But yeah, we're all Satoshi. We all can play a part in in sharing the group responsibility of maintaining the network, maintaining the ledger, and maintaining Bitcoin. No one controls it. No one can shut you down from using it. No one can ban you from the system. No one can reverse your transactions. No one can punish you by kicking you out of the system. No one can block you. These are the virtues that comes from Bitcoin, unlike fiat. Now we've reached a stage now where countries now can be ejected from fiat. Russia has been banned from the SWIFT system. They can't even transact using dollars anymore. That's the problem with fiat. Someone does control it. That doesn't occur with Bitcoin. Everyone is neutral. Everyone can use it when they want to. So here are some of the virtues of Bitcoin. It's totally transparent. Everyone can see all transactions. So if I sent you money, I can send you the transaction ID and you can verify it yourself. Anyone can verify it. It's an opt-in system. You don't have to use Bitcoin. No one's forcing you to do so, as opposed to fiat. You're forced to by gunpoint, you could say. The policy, how Bitcoin issues its Bitcoins and when it does so and how often it does so, all these things are open and transparent and cannot be manipulated and changed by any one individual or even cartel of individuals. It's something that we all, you could say, take part in. If I disagree, it won't happen. You have to have a consensus. The rules are clear and open. It doesn't discriminate who uses it. Doesn't censor transactions and so on and so forth. So it's open to anyone to build on top of it. So if you wanted to build a system using dollars, you have to comply to the rules stated by the US government. If I wanted to build a system on top of Bitcoin, I just build. No one controls it. I can build anything I like on top of the Bitcoin network. That's it. So this idea that no one owns it and so on and so forth, no one controls it, that's the point of Bitcoin, is that no one can control it. Another red herring about this objection is that those who have developed the code, because Satoshi Nakamoto launched the Bitcoin network, but he wasn't the only person or the last person to contribute to the code. The Bitcoin code is constantly being updated by Bitcoin developers. There are over 800 people who have so far added code to the Bitcoin blockchain, including Muslims. They are known, their code that they added is known, and it is thoroughly discussed and tested before implemented. So it's not something which is secretly done behind closed doors. It's openly done for everyone to observe. Now, maybe you may not be a coder and you can't understand the code, but it doesn't mean that you cannot or are unable. It can be understood. It doesn't take long to learn coding, and you can easily understand how Bitcoin works within a year, as opposed to having a say in fiat and knowing how it works. There are many things that we are unaware of how it works behind closed doors because there's no transparency. So it's really unfair, like many of these objections, an unfair objection toward Bitcoin. Anyway, let's continue.
You cannot complain about it. You cannot pretend that there is justice or injustice. There's no one to talk to.
So this is a demonstration, you could say, of what fiat money has done to us. It's made us weak, technically speaking. Let me explain. Alright, I'm not criticizing the Sheikh saying he's weak. I'm just saying, as a collective, we become weak. Meaning, before the current fiat system, we had gold and silver. And if he was traveling from, let's say, London to Glasgow in the middle of the path, and someone comes out and robs us of our gold and they run off, that's it. How you can get it back? Unless you find the individual and they haven't melted it down yet, and there's some way to know that gold in their possession is yours, then you can get it back. But outside of that, there's no way of knowing. You can't get it back. Now, in our current system, if someone does fraud, for example, steals money from your bank account, you can say this is fraud, prove it, and the bank would take your complaint and give you your money back. So the Sheikh is talking about here. So you can complain to someone, I was defrauded, I want my money back. so on and so forth. But that doesn't mean that money hasn't been stolen. All it means is that the bank has given you a promise that if for some reason money is stolen and it's not your fault, they will take the hit. So if someone stole money from your account and they've gone away and withdrawn that money, the money's gone. They stole it. All the banks have done is said, we will promise to secure or give you back the money and we will take the hit from losing that money. So money was still stolen. It's just that you are not the one who was the end, you can say the end result of that theft. The bank was. So nothing was prevented in our current system. It's just a guarantee. But you have to understand the reason why. Why are the banks making such a guarantee? Because when you deposit money into their bank account, it is no longer yours. They now have a liability towards you. They now owe you money. And this is the agreement. You lend them money, and obviously, and then they give you interest based on that loan. And they use that money for all sorts of haram that they do. That's the agreement. That's what the Shaykh is essentially inviting us to do, to take part in such a system of borrowing and of riba. But the reality is, money, like any property, if it is stolen, there's no one to complain to have that theft reversed. The only way to get the money back is if you find the criminal and he hasn't spent it and he can give the money back. But beyond that, it can't be done. That's it. So it's not even an objection. You can't complain to anyone. Of course you can't complain to anyone. That's how cash works. And what you find here is that the Sheikh is now comparing apples and oranges. He's comparing Bitcoin to a bank deposit. Bitcoin is not a bank deposit. Bitcoin is comparable to cash. A gold coin, a Bitcoin. A silver coin, a Bitcoin. Cash in your hand, a Bitcoin. These are the synonyms. These are the parallels. But I can take my cash or my gold or my silver and deposit it to someone else. They can look after it. They can give a guarantee that they'll look after it. And if it goes missing, I can get it back. Likewise, I can deposit my Bitcoin to an exchange. They guarantee to look after it. And if it goes missing, they can give it back to me. It's the same system. But you have to compare like for like. Bitcoin is like a coin, like gold or silver or cash in your hand. Bitcoin is not like a bank deposit. The only one way to compare the two is to compare Bitcoin on an exchange to fiat money in a bank account. That's a comparable thing. And you can complain to them. You can say, look, my money was stolen. Your account was hacked. Your system was hacked. My money was stolen. I need money back. And they'll give it back to you. Just like a bank account. So that comparison is false. Unfortunately, that's what it is. Another thing the Sheikh said is that there's no justice or injustice in the system. There's no one to talk to. Again, like I said, the same thing with gold and silver and cash. Straightforward. Let's continue.
So it is as if you're throwing your money in a vacuum, not knowing whether it will increase or decrease, but most people don't care.
So, again, this is a callback to the same argument about the money volatility, and the motivation for many people is that they only want Bitcoin to get more fiat. Let's just call it what it is. Many people are only involved in Bitcoin so they can get more fiat. That's it. Is that a problem? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess it depends. If you feel, if it's a problem for someone to take the Shahada and become Muslim just to get married to some woman, a Muslim woman, yeah, that is a problem, isn't it? Because they've only seen the benefit and virtue of Islam through this woman, what you can get from marrying this woman. And I would say, bro, there's so much more to Islam than marrying a woman, you know? And likewise, I would say to Bitcoin, there's so much more to Bitcoin than just the fact that the price goes up. There's a lot more to Bitcoin than just the price goes up. If anyone only sees Bitcoin as money coming in or getting more fiat, then I understand why they have this problem, why they find it difficult to understand Bitcoin, why they have statements like this and why they have views like this, because that's what they see it as. That's what it is. But I don't fully understand the idea of throwing money into a vacuum. But point being is that he's drawing our attention to the volatility argument, and I will say yes, I agree with you, Sheikh. If someone only buys the Bitcoin just to make more fiat, that's his only motivation, then yeah, touche, you won that one. Which is why I never say to people, buy Bitcoin because you can make more money. And that has never been the case. Bitcoin was founded to be an alternative to our current financial system, to solve the problems of the many problems we have in our current system, and to give us money that's not controlled by anybody. All of what I just said here had nothing to do with the price. These are virtues that comes with Bitcoin. Let's move on.
Because all what they're looking for is quick profit and gain.
Yeah, so like I just said a minute ago, there are many people who are only involved in Bitcoin so they make more money. And generally you find, ironically, that those people who only have an intention of making money, that's their only intention to make more fiat. What you generally find now, actually, is that they don't like Bitcoin. Those people tend not to actually like Bitcoin. They like other coins. Because in their mind, Bitcoin's already moved a lot already. These other coins will pump a lot more. Then buy these other coins, buy this coin and that coin and Doge and Shiba Inu and all these other coins, and let's get the pump. So ironically, if we're just purely talking about Bitcoin, this argument no longer applies to Bitcoin, to be honest, because no one really does that. Or very few people buy Bitcoin just to make more fiat. If they really want more fiat, they'll go elsewhere and go to these other crap coins. So, but if they only did that, then I would say, yeah, you could do that, but you're missing out a larger part of the story. It doesn't make all your actions doing haram, but it doesn't mean that you eventually will sell your Bitcoin for a currency which is clearly deficient. Anyway, let's move on.
You remember the pyramid schemes and the networking schemes that have been in the past and still ongoing today, selling you a commodity that costs in the market a single euro, they sell it to you for 200 euros, claiming that there is only 5,000 pieces in the world of it. And then after you pay that huge amount of money, you qualify to market it to others, and you will get a percentage whenever someone enlists in the same Ponzi scheme. It is all bogus. It is all a hoax, and they consume people's money through that. Man by nature likes quick profit.
Okay, so the Sheikh here has put together a whole load of things in one go, and has made his point a bit convoluted. But let's break it down. What is a pyramid scheme? What is a Ponzi scheme? They're actually very different. Now, according to a definition which I found online, it says that Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes have many similar characteristics based around the same concept. Unsuspecting individuals get fooled by unscrupulous investors who promise them extraordinary returns in exchange for their money. So that's kind of what the Sheikh has described here, but there is a reason why a pyramid scheme is called a pyramid scheme and a Ponzi scheme is called a Ponzi scheme, because they're not the same. They behave very differently. So let's have a look. What's a Ponzi scheme? A Ponzi scheme, investors give money to the portfolio manager. So he's giving them money like an investment. Then when they want their money back, they are paid out with the incoming funds contributed by later investors. So the scenario will be, I'm an investor, I say, bruv, I've got this business model, it does this, it does that, we make so much money every year. If you give me your investment, then I'll give you X amount of profit in return every month. So give me £100, I'll give you £10 every month, ongoing. So what I do is I take that £100 from him and from others, And every month when it's time to pay out these individuals, I use the money that they gave me, £100, to pay out everyone else £10. So if I have 10 people all giving me £100 each, I now have £1,000. Now the end of the month comes, I have to pay them. I now give everyone £10 each, which basically means I paid them 100. So by the end of the month, I have £900 and I paid them out £100. If I keep on getting more and more and more people, I will still, just like that, I've been amplifying that surplus. I've given everyone a small amount, but I have the larger amount. And the only way Ponzi schemes end is whereby I eventually run away with that extra surplus because I can't pay back what I promised them because it's a lie. That's how Ponzi schemes work. A pyramid scheme, on the other hand, is different. And it's different in the sense that, again, it's a pyramid. So taking the example that Sheikh gave here, you buy something off of me, but with buying that item, you earn the right to sell the same item to others, and you get a cut of that sale. So do I. So that's where the pyramid comes from. So I'm at the top, I get half of the profits that you sell. I guess the first sale with me, and I get all the profits because I'm sending to you directly. But then I say to you, you can sell to someone else, and then you get 50% of that. So I get half, you get half. And if they get others, then they would get, let's say, 40%, I get 50%, and the next person gets 10%. And if they sell them to others, it decreases little by little by little by little. So the money flows up to the top. That's how pyramids work. So they're very different in the sense that a pyramid scheme generally tends to revolve around the sale of an item. So if you keep selling to others, each person cascading in the tree gets a portion of the sale. Whereas a Ponzi scheme is more about investment. Give me money, and every month I give you a share of the profits, which is not really a share. I'm just giving you the money that you gave me back. But eventually my plan is to run away. So also the differences between the two. So the question is, how is Bitcoin like a Ponzi or like a pyramid scheme? So if you see Bitcoin as having only the function of having fiat money, so I'm already getting the Bitcoin so I can get fiat money, then we can kind of see why people may be confused as to why it maybe act like a Ponzi. Why is that? Let's look at the process. You give your fiat money to get Bitcoin. So you handed money over to receive this thing that you don't really want because you want the fiat, but you give to get this thing, this fiat. Just by doing that, the price of this Bitcoin goes up, which makes people other than you who see this price going up, they want to jump in as well. So they hand over their cash to get more Bitcoin, which in turn turns the price of Bitcoin even higher. And it gets to a point whereby at some stage, someone, especially those who came in early, will say, okay, I want my fiat back now. I've made my profit. I want my fiat back. So let me give back the Bitcoin and get my fiat back. If more people start doing that than those who come in, then the price will no longer go up. It will start coming down. And this is why people think it is a Ponzi scheme. But this is not how Ponzi's work, as we just described it before. Nor is it how pyramids work, as described before. So again, let's see how would you get a pyramid scheme how would you do a Ponzi scheme in crypto? Okay, here's a scenario. Let me give you an actual Ponzi scheme using cryptocurrency as the basis. I have minted and I have issued 1 million tokens, and I have all 1 million tokens, and it cost me practically nothing to issue that token. And now they had this practically nothing, and they've made promises. If you buy this coin early, become an early investor, it will go up 10-fold, 20-fold, 100x, and then you can sell at a profit. So that's what happens. Some people start buying it, early investors, the price goes up, more come in, price goes up, more comes in, price comes up. At some point, me, the issuer, I want to now exit the system with the money I made, because I've effectively collected all your money because I sold the tokens I had, which I made for nothing, to you. And now the price starts to drop. Literally, it will go to zero. And we've seen that many times in the crypto space where the money has practically gone to zero because the early investors or the creators exited. That's an example of a Ponzi. So the coin had no function. There was never going to be a function. It was only a means to pump the price up and then dump your bags to exit with their money. So you just transferred money from those people into your pocket and now you've gone. That's an example of a Ponzi in crypto. What's an example of a pyramid scheme in crypto? How does that work? So again, I issue coins, either all of them or most of them, and I make promises. If you buy this token, you will be able to, every time you sell the token onto someone else or you get other people to buy the token, you get a specific cut. And I can program that within the actual program, within the actual code base, that every time transaction goes from one person to the other, the original wallet will get a cut. And the wallet before that will also get a cut. That's programming a Ponzi within the actual code base. So you see every time money is transacted, the money flows up and up and up and up to the original person. And that's an example of a Ponzi scheme in crypto. Now, in practice, there aren't many examples of Ponzi, of pyramid schemes in cryptocurrencies, because it's very obvious that it's a pyramid scheme. Not saying it doesn't happen. It does happen. But it's not that common. Generally what you'd find is a lot of these YouTubers who have affiliate links and whatnot, who want to get you in early, they are the ones who essentially are the resellers. So they have the main guys who are at the top of the pyramid. You have the foot soldiers who go on YouTube and pump coins. And then when you buy and others will buy, and that's a form of a pyramid scheme. But generally speaking, coding it into it doesn't happen that way. There was one crypto coin, I think it's called Safe Moon, where they actually coded it that way by saying whoever sells their coin pays a fee to the holders of the coin for the fact that they sold it. So that's an example of a pyramid in it, but it's generally not that common. Ponzi's are more common, where basically someone issues a coin for nothing, hypes up the coin by getting everyone interested, and then exits with the money for that coin. Some people call it a rug pull and that kind of stuff. So those are examples of a Ponzi in crypto. And none of that occurs with Bitcoin. None of it. Bitcoin has never promised to make people millionaires or to do something. I mean, it's definitely will happen by function of the price discovery, but there was no pre-mine. So the Bitcoin, when it was launched, there was no Bitcoin. On the day that Bitcoin network was launched, there was no Bitcoin. And you had to mine Bitcoin to earn Bitcoin. So anyone who gets Bitcoin as a miner has to earn it. As opposed to a Ponzi, you don't earn anything. Secondly, Bitcoin has a function. It's a functioning currency. People use it to do business and commerce, to store their wealth. It has a function, which is not the case with a Ponzi scheme. When you go involved in a Ponzi scheme, you're giving your money to an investor who is lying to you and telling you that he's going to make money for you, but there is no money to be made. The profit he's given you is the money you gave him at the beginning. Same thing with a pyramid scheme. Some pyramid schemes, the way they function it is like multi-level marketing, they call it multi-level marketing, where they actually do sell a product, but it still functions as a pyramid scheme or as a pyramid scheme, because essentially you're not really buying. You don't even want the thing. You're just buying it for the rights of selling it on to someone else at a profit, or not profit, I said someone else, and then cascading that money. It's a scam. Whereas Bitcoin doesn't behave that way. And Bitcoins only come into existence through doing and providing a service, i.e. processing transactions. So I send money to one person to another person, and another person is a miner. He earns Bitcoin by securing the network and validating and processing transactions. So it's a system that has a function. What's this function? To be a currency independent from any individual or any organization, to store one's wealth and to facilitate transaction. That is not Ponzi or a pyramid scheme. But like I said, if you only see Bitcoin as a means to get more fiat, then I can understand why you are confused. But it's incorrect. Anyway, moving on. Moving on.
If someone with a long beard comes to me and says, Sheikh, give me money and I invest it for you and I'll give you revenue that is beyond imagination and you will sustain a happy life, I will trust him. Not because of his beard, but because of the gain and the quick profit that I may make out of it. Bitcoin is something like this. And there are...
Yeah, so as I've just explained it, here's an example of the motivations why someone will get involved in a Ponzi, because they want profit, quick profit. And then he says that Bitcoin is like this. Incorrect. Don't take my word for it. Just listen to what I just said. Where I described, go on YouTube or go on the internet, search Ponzi versus pyramid, look at the definition and analyze, does this apply to Bitcoin? Ponzi schemes need money managers. You give money to them and then they give money back to you. That is a Ponzi. Is there a money manager for Bitcoin? Nope. Pyramid schemes require you to buy or sell products and you get a cut of that product. Is that the case of Bitcoin? Are you required to sell Bitcoin to other people and get a cut of that profit and cascade? No, you're not. So Bitcoin is not a pyramid or a Ponzi. I hope that's clear.
I think a lot of similar virtual currencies, they're virtual, you cannot touch them. And Ethereum and so many, 60, some may make them up to 100, and they are on the rise.
Yeah, so another point, people mention, oh, there's so many different currencies out there. Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many different elements in the periodic table, you know, that doesn't take away from gold what it is. Every element has its own properties, its own use case, you could say. But it doesn't make mercury money. It doesn't make zinc money. It doesn't make uranium become money. I mean, I can use it for something. It doesn't make it money. And most of these coins, who are, you could say, copycats of Bitcoin, they won't survive as money because the nature of money is that money devours other money. Let me explain. We have gold, we have silver, still to this day. We have shells, we have beads, to this day. But why does no one use shells and beads and even gold and silver in daily transactions? Why not? Because the better, more convenient form of money becomes the dominant form of money. Even paper money. Paper is more dominant or more convenient, and credit card is more dominant, more convenient because it doesn't have the same failings and problems of gold. Likewise, Bitcoin will, or in terms of, if you want to compare it to the other cryptocurrencies, it's the dominant one because it has features and properties that no other cryptocurrency has. And Bitcoin will, inshallah ta'ala, dominate all currencies because it has properties and features that makes it superior to these other failing currencies. One of them being is that Bitcoin is deflationary, meaning that its value increases over time by its very code in nature. Whereas fiat currency is inflationary, which means its value decreases over time, and that's by design. So if over time, when Bitcoin becomes more and more ubiquitous and more known to people realize, wait, this Bitcoin has been going up for the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Why am I still holding fiat? That will become more and more the issue for many people. And on top of that, many countries now are seeing this and adopting Bitcoin as their legal tender. We have 2 countries, I've already said, we're now using Bitcoin as our national currency. So what happens when more countries do so? It will be a cascading effect. Other countries will see, wait, this country adopted Bitcoin and it's actually working out for them. Let me do the same. So money devours money. It's a winner takes all kind of game. So yeah, there are other tokens, just like there are other elements, but just like zinc has never replaced gold, or even silver has never replaced gold in terms of its functionality and its use of money, likewise, Bitcoin will dominate all, insha'Allah ta'ala. But anyway, just the fact that there are other tokens doesn't take away anything from Bitcoin. That's the point. Moving on.
It's not logical, the fluctuation of the price.
Yeah, I mean, again, for the third time, price volatility. Like I said, this is one of them. That is probably the most commonly cited excuse or objection towards Bitcoin, price volatility, by both Muslims and non-Muslims alike. And as I've already explained it above, and I'd like to just refer to the Arab saying, إِذَا عُرِفَ السَّبَبْ بَطَلَ الْعَجَبْ. If you knew the reason for the volatility, then your surprise would be nullified. And I think also, just another point, another side point, a little bit of a side rant. There is a fallacy about price stability. Since when has prices have to be stable? That's never been the case. Even with fiat, price is not stable. I mean, the government's trying to have an illusion of stability, but there is no stability. We all know by consensus, this is a well-known fact. We all know that what we can buy today is less than what we could buy 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. We all know this. So we all know and acknowledge that our fiat money is losing value perpetually, continuously. So therefore, if you know something's going to continuously lose value, then that means you're saying it will eventually go to zero, which has been the case for all fiat from the beginning of time. Anytime you've had some fake money dictated by government, it has always been debased to nothing. It's always been. Nothing has ever survived because it's not sound money. So price volatility is not an issue. Even gold is volatile. Even silver is volatile. And if you accept that, acknowledge that silver is currency Islamically, silver is more volatile than all currencies on planet Earth, probably. I mean, just in 2020, it went from like $15 an ounce to like $30 an ounce. That's double. And it came back down to 25. All things have volatility. Just some more than others. Anyway, moving on.
Now, is it a currency or a commodity? This is something we still have to look into.
So, if you are unaware if it's a currency or a commodity, why are we having a discussion? Meaning, if there is still things that you are unsure about, why have such a strong opinion against Bitcoin? Why not just say, I don't know what Bitcoin is? There are many questions I don't have, so therefore, I won't say anything until I know. But to say, I don't know, as an objection, it doesn't add up. But, moving on.
Because it is not a currency. It's not backed by people. It's not backed by government. It's not backed by central banks or normal banks.
Now this is one of the most worrying objections the Sheikh has mentioned so far. The most concerning objection. Bitcoin is not backed by people, not backed by governments or even central banks or even normal banks. This is troubling. This is extremely troubling. Let's have a look. It seems to be here that the Sheikh is suggesting that money can only be money if it is backed by a riba-based institution. Governments don't have money. Central banks don't have money. Banks don't have money. They have liability. They have debt. Central banks issue currency through debt, through riba. Their job is to regulate the money supply through interest rates. If they decrease the interest rates, that encourages people to borrow. The more they borrow, the more money is created in the system. The more money is created into the system, that effectively, as I say, introduces growth to the economy. And if they want to reduce the money supply, they increase interest rates, make it more expensive to borrow money from the bank. And in case you're unaware, when you borrow money from the bank, you're not taking someone else's money, you are issuing fresh new currency. So when you mine Bitcoin and you essentially get rewarded new Bitcoin, that is, that is how Bitcoin comes into existence. You provide a service to the Bitcoin network, and therefore Bitcoin comes into existence. Whereas in the fiat system, money comes into existence through riba, through interest. So the Sheikh is basically saying that Bitcoin is not money because it doesn't come into existence through this process of riba. That's concerning. What I would have liked to have seen is the Sheikh say, we don't agree with the system of riba. We don't agree in the central banks or even banking system. We need a currency or a system that doesn't require interest to exist. But what we see here so far instead is Bitcoin is not real money because it's not backed by a central bank or a bank. That's extremely, extremely worrying. And I've only seen very few scholars who have raised the issue. Some have even gone as far as to say Bitcoin is haram, not because it's not currency, but because it threatens the central bank. Let that sink in for a minute. There is a scholar, he lives in Kuwait, who said that Bitcoin is haram because it actually stops interest or interest-based banking, or threatens that institution. So what does it mean when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the riba is many levels of sin, the lowest of it is like sleeping with your mother? What does that mean then? If we now are defending institutions that regulate and facilitate riba, how is that an objection to Bitcoin? That's the reason why we need Bitcoin. And that's the reason why I always tell people, this is why you need Bitcoin. Not because money goes up and blah, blah, blah. The reason why you as a Muslim needs Bitcoin is to escape this system of riba. If that was the only case of Bitcoin, that's enough. But it's very sad that we see the Sheikh is actually objecting to Bitcoin because Bitcoin threatens the system. I can only guess that the Sheikh is unaware of how banks work or central banks work and what their role is in society, but the role of a central bank is to facilitate government spending through the issuance of currencies, through interest-based loans. That's the purpose behind it. Your taxes, when you're taxed, it goes to pay off these loans. When countries go to IMF to get loans, this is through this banking system. So all the system we have, everything we have in our current system is based on riba. So to defend that system is to defend riba. And it's sad that that's what we see here in this thing. But anyway, we move on.
So you cannot say it's a currency because no one deals with it except a handful of people.
No one deals with Bitcoin except a handful of people. Well, this is kind of contradictory because if the Sheikh says that it's anonymous and no one knows who's dealing with it, then how do you know only a handful of people are dealing with it? And secondly, again, we've got to be fair here. We have countries like Brunei that has a population of less than 500,000 people that live in Brunei. That means less than 500,000 people deal with their currency and use their currency. Whereas you have Bitcoin is the national currency for El Salvador, and they have a population of 5 million people. And Bitcoin is the currency of the Central African Republic, and they have a population of, I think, 4.5, so El Salvador has 6.8 million, the Central African Republic has 5 million. So that's a total of 11.8 million people who have Bitcoin as their national currency. So we have evidence, at least in principle, that more than 20 times, and that's just going by the two countries, more than 20 times of the people of the world use Bitcoin compared to the Brunei currency. But no one denies that Brunei's currency is a currency. So we have to be fair here. We can't criticize Bitcoin or judge Bitcoin by one standard and ignore fiat by another standard. We can't. If lack of people using the currency means it's not a currency, then the currency of everyone in the world besides the major currencies like the dollar and the yuan or whatnot, none of them are currencies. Yet, there you go. And not to mention, if you actually think for a second, all currencies had a moment where only a handful of people used it. Like gold itself. There was a time when only a few people used it before more people used it. So we have a chicken and egg situation. If currency can't be currency unless loads of people use it, and therefore and on top of that, you can't use it until that happens, then you have a loop. It can't become currency unless we all use it, but you can't use it unless we all use it. It's a circular argument. Anyway, I don't want to go on too much about that, but that's basically my answer to that one. Let's move on.
Country-wise, only I think Germany, Japan, maybe Austria allow it because there is benefit to them from it. Taxations, monitoring, etc.
So, this video was made before El Salvador and before Central African Republic. But if the Sheikh admits that some countries accept it, then what's the problem then? I mean, surely the Japanese yuan is only used in Japan and the Austrian currency, that actually is euro. But surely many currencies are only used by the locals of the currency. So I don't understand the objection here, to be honest. I don't understand the objection here. But I think it's kind of similar to the one we had before.
And the biggest loophole in it, that the price goes way up and it can also come way down. So it's like a bubble waiting to be inflated. And this what will happen soon.
Yeah, so for the fourth time now, the price action goes up and goes down. So it's quite clear, as you can probably see from the video, that the whole price volatility is a scare tactic. So what they're saying is, although the money can go up, it will go down again. So therefore, don't buy Bitcoin because you're going to lose your fiat. Do you see the sleight of hand? It's not really an objection to Bitcoin. It's more of a scare tactic. If you buy Bitcoin, you're going to lose your money. But the point is, if I converted £100 into reals and I got 500 reals as my money, and then whatever happened in Saudi Arabia and the economy wasn't going too well, and they said technically the reals compared to the pound went down, I still have 500 reals. I haven't lost money. I still have the money. It's in my hand. Likewise, if I bought one whole Bitcoin, it doesn't matter what the price of Bitcoin is in dollars. I still have one Bitcoin. I haven't lost money. I still have the Bitcoin. But again, back to the whole point. If you only see Bitcoin as a means to get more fiat, then yes, that's a very good concern. And if you've only come to Bitcoin to get more pounds, then yes, there is a concern. Which is why I say to people, give up on the idea of getting more pounds. Bitcoin is your alternative to the riba-based system. It's a means for you to exit this major sin of haram, of riba. It's a means for you to protect yourself from this riba. Every time you deposit your money into the bank account, you are engaging in this riba-based system. Don't fool yourself that you're not doing that. You are. So if you have Bitcoin, you have exited that system. You're no longer in that system. And on Yawm al-Qiyamah, inshallah ta'ala, you have to stand in front of Allah and say, Ya Allah, riba was everywhere. Riba was in cars, in buying houses. It was even in holidays and buying food. Riba was everywhere, but Ya Allah, I made effort. I made effort to leave that riba. Even though sometimes the volatility was up and down in terms of purchasing power, I still exited from that system. Ya Allah, please reward me for that effort. I could say that. But everyone who sticks and holds on tight to the riba system, they haven't got that virtue. So that's my counter argument to that one. And I think at the time he made this video, Bitcoin was $11,000. Now it's at 30,000. And he said it will go down soon. And it did. I think it did go down to 3 and it went back up again. Now at 30. So that's the interesting thing about Bitcoin. People always say it goes down. But the net movement has always been up. Yes, it goes down momentarily, but it's always going up and up and up. So why does everyone always ignore the overall move and focus on the momentary short-term move? Anyway.
Now, we all know that there is only a limit for the Bitcoins. That is 21 million of it. And once they reach the 21 million, what will happen?
Again, another objection which is formed in the question. What will happen if you get to, what happens if you get to 21 million? Well, if you don't know, why have an opinion? If you don't know the answer to this question, why have an opinion? But what the tactic used here is trying to convince you or allude to you that when this 21 million limit is achieved, something bad will happen. It's the unsaid objection, or the unsaid. It's trying to lead you in that direction. You don't know the answer. That's the assumption. And I'm saying this as an objection, alluding to the fact that when that limit occurs, something bad will happen. But nothing bad will happen. Because there's a limit, we have a deflationary currency, meaning that the price, you can buy more things over time with less Bitcoin. That's what it means. Over time, the same one Bitcoin will be able to buy more and more and more. That's the end result of having a limited capped supply of Bitcoin. It becomes deflationary. As opposed to our current fiat system, which is inflationary, meaning over time, you can buy less and less and less. And I'm sure right now, as the prices of inflation is going through the roof across the globe, everyone is now seeing firsthand what inflation really means in fiat. It means your shopping becomes more and more expensive every time, every day, or your wages are not following it. That's the reality of fiat. So yeah, you can focus on these small objections and ignore the fact that you're losing your purchasing power in your current system every day. It is what it is, man. Anyway, let's move on.
Also, we also know that it remains anonymous when you deal with it. So it's only a code that you're given. No one can trace it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I think I dealt with this already, but no. The whole meaning of a blockchain is that every transaction is recorded in that chain. And you can follow the path of every single Bitcoin, every single Satoshi, you can follow it down to where it was first initially issued. So the idea that it's untraceable is an absolute, I can call it a lie. I'm not saying he lied. I'm saying someone, somewhere, either had a misunderstanding or deliberately lied, and the Sheikh I'm repeating it, but it's totally false. People have been thieves, those who stole Bitcoin, have been found out and discovered because we could trace where the money goes, and you can follow the flows of cash and capital. So the idea is untraceable is absolutely categorically false. It's just not true, man. And this is again where one needs to demonstrate knowledge of the system before one can answer if the system is halal or not. Anyway, move on.
Which means that it's an open a gate for money laundering, drug money, haram money. You can just put it there and no one can trace you.
Yeah, so it's not true. And on top of that, all money can be used for criminal activity. That's the property of money. Money conveys and carries value. Criminal activities generally require a fee. If I want to do drugs, I have to pay for it. If I want to go to a prostitute, I have to pay for her. If I want to murder someone, hire an assassin, I have to pay for that. So generally speaking, criminal activities require payment. So criminals will use any form of payment to do so. That's just how it is. It just so happens though that if you're a criminal, it's not really a good idea to use Bitcoin, because the properties of Bitcoin is that you can trace all of it. Now, I think what the Sheikh is referring to is that each individual transaction, I don't know who owns that transaction. So it's pseudonymous, as in I can see the flows of money. I just don't know directly who owns that money. What it does mean though is that if I can reveal individuals by whatever means, now I can trace their movements. So if you bought money on an exchange like Coinbase or Binance, and you gave them your details and you withdrew your money into your own wallet, Binance, Coinbase, or whoever has those details can follow your flows of money. So it's traceable. Or if you stole money from someone and you wanted to sell that Bitcoin for fiat, and you deposited it in your Coinbase or Binance account, then we can see, oh yeah, we know this person. That's his account, that's his address. Let's give it to the police, go and get him. So yeah, again, categorically false and unfair to, again, hold Bitcoin to standards that is not held to fiat or even gold and silver. Actually, gold would be a lot better to use for criminal activities, because once you've melted down a gold coin, it's untraceable where it came from. So if gold is halal and that's its property, the one about Bitcoin, who is not like gold in that regards. Anyway, just going to continue on with ransomware.
And this is, subhanAllah, probably why all hackers, when they do cyber crimes and they demand a ransom, the ransom has to be paid in Bitcoin. So the Pirate of the Caribbean's, the Disney movie that was hacked, and they demanded ransom for it in Bitcoin. Also, any cyber attack, any virus attack or threat can threaten your wealth and can take this currency, so-called currency, down to the ground. So,
okay. Yeah, so again, cyber attacks, if you hold your Bitcoin on a computer, then someone can access the computer and steal the Bitcoin. Much like if you put your gold in your drawer, in your desk at work, someone can open your drawer and take your gold. That doesn't mean gold is not a good form of store of wealth or medium of exchange. It just means that if you put your money in a careless location, it can be stolen. Likewise, if someone kidnaps your child and says, I want you to pay me in gold, put your gold in this place here and walk away, and then I'll release it. Ransom or kidnapping or that kind of things have existed from as long as we can remember. So accepting payment in Bitcoin is no different than accepting payment in any other thing. It just happens that way. It just happens that because Bitcoin is a superior form of money, meaning that I can exchange large values of money at little to no cost across borders, that's why it's used. So actually, the fact that hackers use it is a demonstration of why Bitcoin is better than fiat. Because the same privilege that the hacker gets in using Bitcoin, you also get. As in, you're not a hacker, but you also get the same privileges of being able to transact cross-border at little to no cost instantly. So you can't fault Bitcoin for being good at what it does. That's what it's supposed to do. Anyway, move on.
there is a lot of ambiguity. If I have dollars and you have euros, we would like to exchange. This is permissible in Islam with one condition, and that is that it has to be hand to hand. It has to be physical. I cannot say, okay, I accept this transaction, I'll give you the money after half an hour. This is haram. The transaction is void. It has to be simultaneous, give and take.
So what the Sheikh has said here is a bit of a mixture of multiple things going on. And it's important to break it down properly to understand things correctly. So he mentioned the issue of yad and biyad, ha and baha, as in immediately, hand to hand, when you're exchanging currencies. Not when you're buying something, just exchanging currencies. So if you do euros to pounds, pounds to dollars, dollars to yuan, gold for silver, silver for gold, gold for pounds, it has to be instant, hand to hand. You can't, like you said, take the gold and say, I'll bring in the money later on today. Can't do that. But money, as in fiat, comes in multiple forms. We have it in the cash form, which is what he's kind of alluding to here. We also have it in the bank form. So again, we have this convolution a mixing of Bitcoin being cash and Bitcoin being a bank deposit, which it isn't. Bitcoin behaves like a bank deposit. It doesn't behave like cash. So yeah, if I went to Saudi Arabia, I went to Umrah, and I went to those sarraf, those money exchange places, and I said, I have some pounds, can I have some reals? I give him the pounds, give them the reals, like that. Done. He can't say to me, give me your pounds, I'll give you money later on. That's what he's saying is incorrect. But it also occurs with Bitcoin. So I could transfer £100 of Bitcoin to their wallet, and when they receive it, I get the money. So the way I can receive it, so there's I guess you could say I have here 4 different ways in which you can transfer Bitcoin. So number 1, I can send it to their wallet and it'll be confirmed within 10 minutes. Yeah, that's fine. And then once it's confirmed, just exchange your money and that's it, done. Or I can send it, so therefore you can say finality of the transaction occurred once it was in the block. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, first my videos about how blockchain works. But basically, final confirmation or finality of the transaction occurs once it's in the block. Because before it's in the block, it's in what's called a mempool or memory pool. So generally speaking, good wallets allows you to cancel transactions as long as it's in a memory pool. So if that's the case, you just send it, wait until it's confirmed. Once it's confirmed, you take the money in cash and done. That's hand to hand, immediate. Another way of doing it is by sending it to the mempool, but remove what's called replace by fee function, meaning that once I've sent it, I can't cancel it anymore. Although it's not in the block, it can't be cancelled. So once I've sent it, it is final. It can't be undone. It's finished. So I can just press send, I receive the cash, done. That's hand to hand. A third way of doing it is using what's called an open dime. Open dime is like a little USB stick, and the wallet is on the stick, so you can actually put Bitcoin on this USB stick. And if you want to withdraw or spend the money, you have to kind of break a piece of the stick so that reveals the private key. But if it's not broken, it's just within the stick, and you can say it's here. So if I give you the actual stick, I no longer have it. So again, I can put Bitcoin on this USB stick. I collect the money from you, I give you the stick, hand to hand. Instant. Yad and biyad. So what's the objection? Bitcoin can and does happen hand to hand. And there's another way of doing it. So if you have Bitcoin, well, basically that's it. But then you have fiat as a bank deposit. This is where this objection kind of backfires. If I go to the ATM and then we want to withdraw some cash, so I'm in Oman and I want to withdraw some cash in Omani, whatever the money is, dirhams or whatever, dinar or whatever the currency is, and I only have fiat pounds in my bank account. So I go to ATM and I withdraw the local currency and the money comes out of my bank account. But that's not instant. That's not how fiat works. cross-border transaction or any bank transaction doesn't happen instantaneously. Final transaction or finality of the transaction takes days. You may feel that the money is final because you can no longer see it in your bank account, but finality of the transaction takes days. And I don't see no one objecting to that one. Has the Sheikh said you can't withdraw your cash from an ATM in another country because not yadan biyad? I mean, that is the case. That is the reality. It's not yadan biyad. You have the cash in your hand, but the bank hasn't received the cash from you. As in, I've gone to Rajhi bank account in Saudi Arabia and I've withdrawn money. So Rajhi's given me the cash, but Rajhi hasn't received the cash from my bank account. So that's not yadan biyad. So again, we have another example of double standards. Imagine I transferred money from my account. So I transferred my pounds to whatever currency and I received another currency. Again, that's not, bank transfers are not final. They take days to finalize. Again, that's not yadan biyad. So the whole banking system is based on liabilities. Whereas Bitcoin is a bearer asset. Meaning that once I send it and you receive it, it's final. You've received the actual thing that contains the value. Where the bank transfer, you only transferring the liability that money is owed. And it becomes final after a period of time. So no, Sheikh, unfortunately, it's not the same. And on top of that, if you want to compare like for like, if I was to convert my Bitcoin to Ethereum, I'll do so on an exchange. And that exchange is also instant because both the Ethereum and the Bitcoin is on their books. And when I sell one for the other, the transaction happens instantly. And I can withdraw the Bitcoin or the Ethereum immediately. Or I can use a decentralized exchange where I exchange Ethereum for sand or mana. So my money goes into the pot and my money comes out and it's instant. So actually, yadan biyad, hand to hand instant transaction, actually it does occur on crypto or on Bitcoin, not on fiat from the banking side of it. Yeah, fiat in cash in hand, fair enough, but not from the banking side, which is the majority of the way in which we spend and use our money. So again, this objection is not true.
In virtual currencies, you don't have this. The transfer is not simultaneous and you don't have anything physical to hold on to.
So yeah, as you've seen already, that's just not true. And you do have something physical to hold on to. I mean, if you want to go be pedantic about it, you do have something physical to hold on to. I.e., you have private keys that is in my hand, these 12 words or 24 words, and money has been transferred to these words, and it's in my hand. I can memorize it, and that's in my head. It is instant, and I can actually possess it, and that was what Bitcoin achieved. Bitcoin achieved for the first time possession in the virtual, because before that there was no way to have that because we couldn't solve what's called a double spend problem. I have other videos which can refer to about that. So here we see another issue with another objection which is not really valid. Anyway, let's move on.
So this kind of ambiguity makes Bitcoin haram, in my opinion.
So the issue of ambiguity, many have used that argument of ambiguity or gharar, they refer to it. And I really think, I mean, please send me a DM on Twitter, comment on this video, tell me how Bitcoin is ambiguous, because I think this has been grossly misunderstood. Grossly misunderstood. If I had a black bag, and I said, inside this black bag is something very valuable, do you want to buy it off me? He said, yeah. Give you £10, whatever's in the black bag. That's ambiguous. What is in the black bag? I don't know. But if I said to you, in this black bag, there is an iPhone 4. Oh, sorry, 4, that's so old. An iPhone 13 Pro, 120 something gigabytes of RAM, blue color, and I described it entirely. That is not ambiguous. It's quite clear what is inside it. It's done. So if I was to buy a Bitcoin, if I was to purchase one Bitcoin, I have one Bitcoin. There's no ambiguity in that. I know exactly what I'm getting. I'm getting one Bitcoin. And I see in my wallet, one Bitcoin. That's the most unambiguous thing you can get. It's a number. It's a whole number. One. Or I can buy 1.25825 Bitcoin. It's not ambiguous. It's actually very precise. But if you only see your Bitcoin as a means to get fiat, and you only ever want the fiat, maybe a case could be made that I don't actually know what Bitcoin is and in fiat at any given day, but that's your problem. Not to do Bitcoin. If you bought Bitcoin, you have Bitcoin. If I bought Bitcoin today, I bought one whole Bitcoin. In 5 years' time, I still have one whole Bitcoin. Nothing's changed. There's no ambiguity whatsoever. So where's the ambiguity in it? If the ambiguity is how much money how much things I could buy with this Bitcoin, well, that's with all currencies. I don't know how much my pound could buy at any given moment. I could be in one country, I can get this much for a pound, in another country I get this much for a pound. It's always ambiguous. That's why you find out the market. You look at the market prices and you decide whether or not it's worth that price, and you do the exchange. But that's with all money. So where is the ambiguity in Bitcoin? And I'll end this on a metaphor. It's like a non-Muslim saying to someone who's considering Islam, say to them, why would you accept Islam? It's unclear what your life is going to be like after you take that step. Yeah, maybe it's unclear to you, but I know exactly why I want to be Muslim, and I've chosen Islam.
Muslims should not get involved in such dubious transactions simply to make a quick buck.
Yes, I agree. Any Muslim who dives into the Bitcoin space just to make quick money, don't bother. And ask anyone who has come to me asking me about Bitcoin, you'll find I've always said the same thing. I've always said, go and learn about Bitcoin. Find a reason to have Bitcoin that doesn't involve the money going up. Maybe you want to send money to abroad instantly. Maybe you want to pay for the rent for your family back home in another country. Maybe you want to have money that can't be confiscated. Find a reason of the many, many, many reasons why Bitcoin can help you as a currency. And then you would know what to do. But if you only want Bitcoin to get more fiat, then don't be upset if you don't. Because if you bought one Bitcoin, you have one Bitcoin. And there's no ambiguity in that.
To make a quick profit. This is not an Islamic concept. And one of the reasons of a lot of transactions being prohibited in Islam is the concept of gharar, ambiguity, that there might be some sort of deceit or ambiguity in knowing the end result of this transaction. Allah Azza wa Jal knows best.
If all you want out of Bitcoin is fiat, then I guess that's what you get from your transaction or from your fiat. But if you bought 1.12345 Bitcoin, then you've got 1.12345 Bitcoin, and there's no ambiguity in that whatsoever. Anyway, hopefully you find this video beneficial and useful to you, and may Allah give you plenty of Bitcoin. Assalaamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.